I do want to talk just a little bit to maybe kind of transition into what we're doing tonight about something I just wrote for the Daily Beast about a friend of show, Jordan Peterson. I don't know if he would describe himself as a national conservative. If so, of course, not this nation because he's Canadian. But in any case, do we have the Daily Beast? Yeah, there we go. So it's called Jordan Peterson's Politics Make Life Harder for Young Men, and basically what I'm tracking in the article is, using as the jumping off point Peterson's return in triumph to his first love, Twitter, in the last week or so. This sort of culmination of his transition from this sort of quasi-spiritual self-help psychologist guru who certainly, expressed some political opinions, but was largely focused on more elevated matters. And sometimes people would even sort of deny that he was a conservative, into this just unabashed partisan of the right wing and day-to-day news cycle politics. That if you look at his Twitter now, it is just nonstop praise for the genius of Elon Musk. We actually watched the post game last week, released this as a clip, the appearance on Piers Morgan, where he expressed a little bit of ambivalence about Donald Trump, largely because of his personality, but praised him for his efforts on behalf of world peace in Jordan's mind, and also all the wonderful things that he did for the working class. And he said that he personally would prefer that Governor Ron DeSantis be president next time. And he's also been effusive in his praise of Mike Pence, etc. And the point I want to make about this is just that. I hope so. King Charles and Jordan Peterson, that should definitely be what's on a Canadian dollar now. King Charles II and whatever number he is, and King Charles III. Sorry, my apologies. King Charles III and Prince Jordan can be next to each other on that money. Should make everybody in Canada very proud. But in any case, the basic point I want to make about all this, the article, is not so much Jordan Peterson is a bad man who has cultural politics that are different from mine, although he is and he does. But that's kind of boring. That's kind of a given at this point. The point I really want to make in the article is, look, Jordan Peterson routinely moves himself to tears talking about these alienated, frustrated young men who come to him for advice, who aren't living the kind of lives they want to live. He has all kinds of advice for how they could live it. A lot of it's stuff like cleaning your room and standing up, with your back straight, and focusing on advancing your own life rather than trying to fix the world around you and things like that. But it seems to me that the real question you have to ask is, look, sure, these guys, certainly not just guys, but let's focus on that because that's his focus that he's talking about. They're, the problems that he's describing are very real problems. These people are often very alienated, very confused, very frustrated by what's going on in their lives. They're not doing things like getting married, having kids, having the kind of career trajectories they might like to. But the question is, why not? Did feminism do this? Did blue-haired college kids who care too much about pronouns do this? Did perhaps corporate DEI officers do this? And whatever you think about those various elements of Peterson's demonology, and, hey, some of the things he hates in a hyperbolic, crazy way, I would go so far as to say I find annoying. But none of those did that. That's not the problem. You can actually look at some pretty good statistical evidence about this. You can look at couples who are not engaged or married, but say like the people would like to be married one day, and look at the reasons they give to pollsters for why they're not. You can look at people who either don't have kids or don't have as many kids as they would like and ask about the reasons they haven't had them. And in a boringly overwhelming majority of cases, the answer, which should shock exactly nobody who's thought about this for 10 seconds, is money. That they that like it's all money stuff. That they don't that I'm not financially secure enough. My partner's not financially secure enough. We not enough paid sick time. No paid sick time. I don't, I'm worried about the economy. I'm worried about how we're going to have the money, to support kids consistently. That's the kind of thing that people say. And, I think this does us a little bit to the larger question that, Kuba has kindly taken some of his evening to join us to talk about tonight about post-liberalism and all of that, because I don't particularly want the things like there's a sort of vision of the good life that a lot of conservatives have that, aspects of it maybe, but like a lot of it I might not want for myself. A lot of it's bound up in religion, and that's not my bag, obviously. There's even stuff that I do want for myself, I don't think should be like legally mandatory for people who don't want it. So I don't really agree with their idea that this is universally the good life for everybody, exactly what they think. But if you put aside the question of trying to impose it on others, if you're just asking why can't people who actually want these things, I guess I'm just a colder person than Jordan. Why don't people who actually want these things for themselves, why can't they have it? It's not really that like, the college kids are too woke and and like, I don't like Robin DiAngelo, but she didn't do this. It seems to me that this is, in a really straightforward sense, downstream of the fact that we live in this awful, precarious neoliberal hellscape. And point of the article, which is very straightforward, is just Jordan has been relentlessly devoting himself to propping up the faction of our politics that is most dedicated to making that problem worse.
We need like a "we didn't start the fire," but it's like Robin DiAngelo and pronouns and everything that Jordan Peterson thinks is leading to the modern crisis of masculinity, and it's like, no, we didn't start it.
I'd begin maybe by saying that, in general, if you're any kind of political movement, what you want is some kind of structure. Structure of activity, hierarchy of recognition, of merit, program that can keep idle hands busy, and a authoritarian type of mentorship with the prophet Peterson at the top, or Ron or Don, whichever Republican strikes your fancy as your NatCon Führer. Organizing that frustrated male energy towards their ends. Because when someone is at that crisis point in their lives, alienated, frustrated, feeling like they have nowhere to go, then if you have a mass organization, be it a political party, be it a religious movement, be it a sports fan franchise, you can harness that energy into a disciplined mass of foot soldiers. Some of them will grow into more than that. But if you're not getting them on your team, whatever your team is, then the second best option is to keep them alienated and frustrated and shaken up, and just point them in the direction of your enemies, and some of them will chomp the bit and do the thing that you never mention, but seems to be the implicit conclusion of all of your arguments. What you don't want is them finding that structure and purpose, meaning, community, validation from anywhere else. Because even if it's a boring establishment group like the Elks or the Boy Scouts, once somebody has some of those issues in their life straightened out, then they become much less amenable to your type of your anti-establishment, quasi-mythical, dragon-slaying, chaos-taming program. And I think another way of thinking about the NatCons and about this moment that we find ourselves in culturally and politically is through the Gramscian lens of hegemony, counter-hegemony, and counter-elite. That we've been in under the authority of a particular kind of establishment elite since the 90s. Basically a bipartisan, you could say George W. Bush, Mitt Romney, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton spectrum of Ivy League, patrician, stewards of capitalism. And under their benevolent and enlightened rule, everything was supposed to be fine. You were supposed to be able to find your bliss and your purpose and your meaning through the market, through the internet, and everything was going to work out great. Now, that same class, despite the Trump interregnum, is in charge, but the luster is gone. The implicit authority, the kind of consensus that these people who wield power should be the ones wielding power is gone. And their political program of kind of American flavored neoliberalism has also been severely strained and delegitimized for substantial portions of the US population, especially younger people. So one question that I have when I look at developments in the United States is, now that the hegemonic political consensus is breaking down, now that the elite is wobbly on their feet of clay, what is the counter elite? What are the counter elites? What are the counter hegemonic discourses that are mass enough, organized enough, based enough to potentially compete in the next round of crisis, which is inevitably coming? And that's one reason why I follow the national conservatives so closely. On the Republican side, they are essentially the counter elite, and the program and the worldview that they offer is the counter hegemonic discourse of the right, where they take aim at the establishment elite and they propose a new way forward that you can be a part of, you can be involved in. You can change the world if you sign on to a program, if you join their army. And that's why people who otherwise would be amusing but marginal religious psychos, we now have to look at in a more sober way. In a similar sense, they're doing the same thing with the revived left. While they paint the woke variant as this dominant overforce, right? Sometimes it's called the cathedral, sometimes it's called the successor ideology. They have different terms for it depending on who they're citing. But they imagine, or they present in order to convince you, that there is this woke Ibram X. Kendi, Robin DiAngelo, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Janet Yellen nexus of all that is evil. You can throw in Epstein, why not? That is trying to unpenis you, that is trying to banish God and enshrine the rule of Mammon, the she-beast of Revelation, whatever occult demon energy you want to, you pick your favorite. And they see that that's just a reflection of that old establishment elite. All of this woke stuff only became relevant when it became the legitimating language that was going to buttress the Democratic part of the establishment. And even some of the moderate Republicans like Mitt Romney are amenable to it. They also, the NatCons recognize that a socialist left that's class first and has material critiques of the same elites that they do, and a different and potentially much more fruitful, effective program is something that they need to keep an eye on, because if we could do a better job of organizing, of collecting and husbanding our resources, of creating those structures, which could be a place where not just young men, but disaffected young women, people of all ages can find cross-identitarian solidarity and working together for a better future, then that would be something that they worry about. And so I hope that nobody tells them that we're a bunch of mooks that can't get our act together and all of us are broke.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.